Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 1. The Reds are 4 points clear at the top of the table. Who better to talk about that than a man who played in a Liverpool side that beat Crystal Palace by 9-0 way back when your grandfather had black and white televisions. Stevie Nicol. Stevie, come on. Stevie, what kind of win was that for Liverpool today?
You know, easy would be the straightforward way to put it.
I sense a but.
Well, there is, because as easy as this was, as poor as Crystal Palace were, as comfortable as Liverpool were throughout the majority of this game, they actually could have dropped 2 points, because with 5 minutes to go, Eze pretty much clean through, should have scored. It should have been 1-1. But the reality is that he didn't take the opportunity. He struck the shot straight at goalkeeper Yarish, who had to come on after an injury to Alisson Becker. And Liverpool go home with the 3 points. You know, I have to ask myself, what's happening at Crystal Palace? I mean, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Manchester United completely and utterly destroyed them for 45 minutes and never put the ball in the back of the net. And I thought that was a one-off. But then today, Liverpool turn up. And Liverpool at Crystal Palace, this is the circus coming to town. These are the games that Crystal Palace players and fans want to play in. And they want the big boys at their place. And so you think they have to be up for it. They have to be ready. They're going to put Liverpool under pressure. I was thinking that Crystal Palace were going to squeeze Liverpool and rattle them and try and put them off. But my goodness, they did none of that. And Liverpool just coasted through this game. I mean, defensively, they had nothing to do. I don't think Alisson touched the ball in the first half till about the 40th minute. I mean, it was just so ridiculously easy for Liverpool. And I guess, you know, for Liverpool, they should have put this game out of sight. That's how comfortable they were, but they didn't. That would be the only thing that I would be concerned about if I was Scott. You know, when it's so easy, you've got to take advantage of that. You've got to create more chances, and you certainly got to put them away. But at the end of the day, they win 1-0. And other than the Eze chance, it really was very, very comfortable.
We'll get to the Liverpool goal in a second. I thought it was a really well-worked goal. But, Stevie, there's one stat I want to talk to you about, and I don't know if I've ever seen a stat like this before. It flashed up at halftime when the halftime highlights were being shown. Fouls. Liverpool 11, fine, competitive. Crystal Palace 0. 0 fouls in a first half. How's that possible?
Listen, I think at the end of the day, you have to point the finger at the coach. You know, for Crystal Palace to come out and start this game the way they did, to me, is on the coach. You know, you have to get your players in a mental state that they're busting to get out of the dressing room. They can't wait for the whistle to go. They want to go and win challenges. They want to win tackles. They want to disrupt the opposition. To me, that's on the coach. Now, yes, you can certainly put some of the blame on the players. The players themselves should be wound up and ready to go also. But at the end of the day, it's the coach's job to get his team ready to start when that whistle goes. And clearly they weren't. I mean, I never saw that stat, and the fact that you've just told me that, it doesn't really surprise me.
No, but it's still scary.
Because they were just passive the whole time. They were just passive. You know, see, there's one thing that sometimes you can do as a footballer. Sometimes you can take your... You know, when the coach tells you he wants you to get in a certain position, and when the opposition have the ball, you have to be in a certain spot. And sometimes footballers forget about the nuts and bolts of the game, and that's winning the ball back, as opposed to getting in a position to then win the ball back. They got in position, they just forgot to go and challenge. And that's why you end up with a start with no fouls. Well, no fouls and no challenges.
Never seen it before, and I don't know if I'll see it again. I mean, you've got to get stuck in. I mean, one of the best teams in the country is coming to town. You're just going to sit off them? Well, that's what Palace did in the first half. I thought Liverpool moved the ball well. I really liked that goal that they scored, and it was played in by Cody Gakpo, one of 4 changes to the team, and it didn't weaken the Liverpool side. They've got good strength and depth. But what about the run by Jota across the defender? It's a great finish. It's a super goal. How hard is that for a defender to stop that type of run from Jota?
Well, when somebody does it with the timing that he does it, it's really tough, because you're side on, you've got an eye on him. As a defender, you should never really get beaten in front of you. You should always get beaten behind you if you're going to get beaten. But the fact of the timing of the run is really what separates Jota from his defender. The ball in is great as well from Gakpo.
Yep.
It's put in with pace, and he just attacks it and gets across the front of his defender because, as I said, the timing of his run is so perfect that once he gets ahead of the defender's done. He can't recover in time. These things happen so quickly in that 6-yard area, that penalty box, and so from Jota's point of view, it's great centre forward play, and of course the finish is there and it's in the back of the net, and the defender's scratching his head wondering where Jota came from.
So he went with Gakpo on the left, Jota through the middle, Salah off the right-hand side. No Luis Diaz, he came off the bench. Darwin Nunez not selected. What did you make of the Gakpo, Jota, Salah trio?
I've just sat here and said that they didn't create enough, and I guess that would have to be my answer. They didn't create enough. Yes, the goal was great. The ball from Tsimikas was beautiful. The run from Gakpo was great. The ball across was great, and the finish was great. But there wasn't enough of it. So I guess my answer would be Gakpo hasn't said to Arne Slot, "You must play me the next time we play." It was a great move, but the front three just really didn't create as much as probably they should have, considering how comfortable they were and how easy it was. So, yeah, Gakpo will be pleased with the pass. Jota will be pleased with the finish. I don't suppose Salah will be particularly pleased with his performance, but at the end of the day, Liverpool win the game, and you move on, and you hope that the next time you step on the field, you do more. So yeah, they were okay. Let me put it that way. They were okay.
Is it a good thing for Liverpool that they're not potentially as overly reliant on Salah as they have been in the past? Because he can have quiet days today, and that was the first time he's not scored away from home this season. But others come up with the goods. He seems to be more of a creator this season than directly involved in open play goals.
Yeah, to be honest, the one thing that strikes me right now is that going forward, Liverpool aren't exactly on fire. Yes, they're winning games, but personally, I would like to see. Listen, you always want to see more goals, but I would personally like to see more opportunities created. And I guess the fact that they're not creating as many and not scoring as many as you would like means that it's so important that defensively they're not letting in goals, which is exactly what's happening. Mm-hmm. They've been really tight at the back, haven't let an awful lot of chances. Yes, Eze had a good chance today, but they're not letting the opposition, regardless of who it is, whether it's Crystal Palace or anybody else, they're not letting them create much, and they're certainly not letting them score much. And so while your front line's finding its feet still, I believe, to this campaign, then you can get away with not creating and not scoring as much as you would like to.
The fact they've only conceded 2 goals this season is outstanding. How much of that is to do with the protection being offered by Ryan Gravenberch, who's having a brilliant season, but playing a little bit deeper than he's used to and excelling in that number 6 role?
Yeah, there's no question. Gravenberch and McAllister, have really solidified the middle of the park in terms of defensive work. You know, regardless of whether anybody gets through them, they're putting them under pressure. And that's the key. You can't always win the challenges. You can't always win the ball. You can't always be in the right place all the time at the right time. But what you can do is affect the opposition going forward. And that's what these two have been doing. And by that, what I mean is, you know, if anybody actually does happen to get past them, they're still under pressure, and it affects the ball that's then played into the penalty box, or the ball that's played to the forwards. And that makes it easier for Van Dijk and Kanate and whoever else is playing fullback to defend. So, yeah, they've been key. Gravenberg, as you said, has been incredible. You know, for me, his performances have come from absolutely nowhere. I mean, I was wondering what this guy did, to be perfectly honest with you. Under Klopp, he made no impression whatsoever, in my opinion. But I tell you what, he's making a huge impression right now under Arne Slot.
Last half hour, Hughes and Mateta came on with 30 minutes remaining, and Palace went for it a little bit more. You've mentioned the Eze chance, and I think Liverpool's biggest issue, as you quite rightly said at the start, was not turning their dominance into more chances and more attempts on goal. Does the international break come at a good time? Because we saw McAllister go off at halftime with a thigh problem replaced by Szoboszlai, and then Alisson went off near the end with what looked like a kind of groin issue. But now they've got the international break. Liverpool going to go into that no matter what, top of the table. Is it a good time to have like a couple of weeks break?
Well, the problem is it's not really a couple of weeks break per se. It's a break from the Premier League. Yeah. It's a break from the Premier League, but the players are not going to have a break, because obviously when you play for Liverpool, you're going to be an international footballer. So yeah, I don't think the break's particularly good for anybody. I certainly don't think it's good for players. You know, more travelling and more games. You know, a nice break, as you put it, would have been better. But no, I don't. Listen, I don't think it affects Liverpool too much. The fact is that they're not firing on all cylinders. You know, if they were on fire, then you wouldn't want a break. You would want another game and another game and another game. The fact is they're still, in my opinion, even though they're at the top of the league, they're still finding their way to be at their best. And so I'm not so sure that the break affects them as a unit. But as we said, it certainly affects them in terms of having to travel and play more games.
4 points clear at the top. 3 points today. 2 goals conceded and number 1 in the table. Liverpool win at Palace in Saturday's early game. Bye for now.